Hey you're watching a clip from the DynamiteGizmo Podcast. This is not the full episode, but if you want to see the full episode, make sure to click the link in the description. And remember, like, comment, subscribe. Do it now. Here's the clip. Hi, brother. It's me, Charles Oliveira. Happy birthday to you. Let's go. I'm hearing some strange noises. I live next to a massive military base, so we're hearing some crazy explosions. Let's get into the second segment of the day, shall we? We're going to talk about Charles Oliveira. Hi, brother. It's me. Charles. Charles Oliveira. Absolute legend. Absolute legend. And I'm just stating the facts here. I've shown many of my non-UFC fan friends pictures of Charles before, and the first thing they say is, "Who is this ugly motherfucker? Who is this ugly motherfucker?" That's what they say. They don't understand the legendary status that they're witnessing. But you see, none of that matters when you know who Bronx really is. Because when you look at the numbers, when you look at the career, when you look at the journey, you realize you're watching one of the most accomplished fighters the UFC has ever seen. Charles Oliveira holds 3 of the greatest records in UFC history. Most finishes in UFC history with 21, most submission wins in UFC history with 17, and the most fight night bonuses in UFC history with 21. Looking at those numbers today, Charles seems undeniable. But there was a time when nobody saw him that way. And that's what makes his story so fascinating. Because today, Charles Oliveira is respected, celebrated, and cherished. But in the beginning, it was rough. Charles joined the UFC back in 2010, and for the first 7 years of his career, things were extremely inconsistent. He would win a fight, then he would lose a fight, go on a small streak, then he would lose again, back and forth, flip-flop, nothing stuck, nothing lasted, and to be honest, a lot of people labeled him as a quitter. Someone who couldn't keep it together inside the Octagon. Paul Felder, believe it or not, was the last man to defeat Charles before everything changed. Because after that loss, Charles had a baby girl, and everything changed. He went on an 11-fight win streak, and the world slowly started realizing what Bronx was capable of. And after defeating Tony Ferguson in 2020, which put him at 8 wins in a row, people were fully on board the Bronx train. And at the same time, Michael Chandler had just debuted into the UFC and scored a huge knockout over Dan Hooker. That win immediately pushed Chandler into the top 5. And more importantly, it gave him a shot at the vacant lightweight championship. And that title fight was against Charles Oliveira. And what did Charles do? He went out there and finished Michael Chandler in round 2 with a left hook, followed by ground and pound punches. And just like that, Charles Oliveira became the undisputed lightweight champion. Something almost nobody would have predicted early in his career. He then defended his title later that same year against Dustin Poirier. And once again, Charles delivered, submitting Dustin Poirier in round 3 with a rear naked choke. And at that point, it felt like the story had come full circle. The once inconsistent fighter, the guy people called a quitter, had now become the champion of the world. But this sport has a way of testing people. Because the following year, Charles was scheduled to defend his title against Justin Gaethje. Everything was going according to plan until the official weigh-ins. Charles came in at 0.5 pounds overweight. which meant he was above the contracted limit to defend the title. Right then and there on the scale, Charles Oliveira was stripped of the championship. And then the rules of the fight changed instantly. Now, only Justin Gaethje was eligible to win the title. If Charles won that fight, the belt would remain vacant. And what happened? Well, Charles went out there and submitted Gaethje in round 1 with a rear naked choke. So the belt remained vacant. But everyone watching knew exactly who the best lightweight in the world was at that time. It was Charles Oliveira. It was a tough moment for Charles, and it was a tough moment for his fans. But because he won that fight, he was given the next opportunity to fight for the title once again. And unfortunately for him, that fight was against none other than Islam Makhachev, who has since gone on to become the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. And, of course, that night, it didn't go Charles' way. And just like that, his road back to the title became even more complicated. He was scheduled to rematch Islam a year later, but a cut in training forced him out of the fight, which led to Alexander Volkanovski stepping in on 10 days' notice. Eventually, Charles got another opportunity when Islam vacated the lightweight belt and moved up to welterweight. Now Charles was matched up with Ilia Topuria, who had also vacated his featherweight title and moved up to lightweight. And this happened just last year. And unfortunately for Charles, Ilia slept him in round 1, as he does, with a right-left hook combination followed up by hammer fists. So now the question becomes, will Charles Oliveira ever get another shot at the lightweight title? Honestly, I have no fucking idea. But what I do know is that this weekend he has an opportunity to win the BMF title. And the opponent standing across from him is Max Holloway. Two absolute legends of the sport. Two fighters who have built their careers in completely different ways, yet somehow ended up here at the same time. It's one of those matchups where, honestly, you don't want either guy to lose. Charles currently sits at 36-11 in his career, with 22 of those wins coming by submission. So the big question becomes, is he going to stand with Max the entire time, or is he eventually going to shoot? Because history and statistics suggest he probably will shoot for a takedown, or at least hit Max hard enough to knock him to the ground and then swarm him. What we're really looking at here is an elite striker versus an elite grappler. And some might even argue the best striker or the best boxer in the UFC versus the best and most dangerous submission artist in the UFC. I mean, just look at the records. Max Holloway holds the record for most total strikes and most significant strikes. Charles Oliveira holds the record for most finishes and most submissions in the UFC history. These are two record-holding fighters, two legends, two completely different skill sets that they specialize in, and somehow they're meeting again right now at this stage of their careers. I honestly don't think people realize how significant this fight really is. But if this fight does reach the final 10 seconds of the final round, well, Max has already given us a pretty clear idea of what the expectations are when that moment arrives. All right, I'm sure you're already familiar with the point to the center of the octagon, but are you familiar with exactly the way in which Max needs it to be done? Let's take a listen.
What is the correct etiquette on the point down at the center of the octagon, because everyone but you is doing this wrong.
Yeah, I know. People is giving me shit about that, about the point down. Everybody, I swear, every fight there's like a bunch of people doing it. And here are the official rules, guys. I'm talking to you fighters. Whatever round you guys is at, if you guys fighting a 2-rounder, a 3-rounder, a 5-rounder, a 4-rounder, whatever it is, if you're winning the fight, you're the person who can call the 10 seconds. And then when you call the 10 seconds, you cannot step back or shoot or clinch. This is the opportunity to go crazy, you know. Don't shoot. Don't try to take advantage of a situation, you know. The whole thing is the last 10 seconds, you give this guy a Hail Mary pass and see if he can catch it. That's what it is, guys. Don't shoot, don't clinch, swing it out.
Makes sense. Max Holloway, makes sense. But I truly have no idea which way this fight is going to end. I have no idea. It's one of those, sometimes you'll have an idea, sometimes you don't, sometimes you have no fucking idea, and this is one of those matchups where it's like, I don't know. Round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, don't know, could end at any time. So let me ask you guys something. If you're Charles Oliveira in this fight, do you try to prove something and stand with Max? Or do you do what made you a legend and take him to the ground? Because if Charles gets Max on the mat, this fight could end very quickly. But if he stands and trades with the best boxer in the world, that might be a dangerous game. Let me know in the comments below, okay? Because remember, keep in mind, all right, this is for the BMF title, the baddest motherfucker, okay? This is supposed to be a fight where they put it all on the line and they show you how bad they fucking are. And by bad, I mean good. So we'll see! We'll see!
Tap here to watch the full episode of the Dynamite Gizmo podcast.